Alright, and good morning, everybody. Spenventure's here. We are live at the Gold Coast Railroad Museum. Welcome to Miami. We have drove down the 3-hour trek down to Miami-Dade area, and at the Gold Coast Railroad Museum, and of course right here where it says train tickets, I'm going to go purchase some. But first, we are going to take a look around at some of the old rail cars and that were used in the early days of the railroad. So, let's go ahead and go right on in and start right away. Of course, we're going to take a look at some of these cars. Of course, the presidential rail car. We'll start out with the presidential rail car. This was a historic landmark. Now it is a historic landmark of this is the Ferdinand Magellan, if I'm pronouncing that right away. This is the first rail car as the President of the United States would travel by rail to go to meetings and events back in the early days of railroading. 70 years ago, America's entry into the Second World War, work was underway on the arm-plated rail car for the President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Up until that time, presidents had no special protection while traveling. Simply no equivalent to Air Force One. In fact, air travel itself was still primitive, and presidents traveled exclusively by rail since the late 1920s. They rented cars, the White House rented cars, but originally built in 1928, the Magellan was one group of 6 Pullman cars named after famous explorers. So this is the presidential rail car, and it's now on a National Historic Landmark. So keep looking, and so this is the rail car right here. This is the presidential rail car that was used in the 1920s for President Franklin D. Roosevelt. And so this one, and then move on to our next car. So the presidential rail car tours. They actually do tours of this rail car. So for the United States President is Dade County's first National Historic Landmark. Gold Coast Railroad Museum has cared for this rail car as a museum artifact in its collection custody for 50 years. The rail car is open for a guided tour, but we will not do that today. We also have a little market out here with samples, and you can buy some bread. So that's the Pullman car. This is the Pullman car. Barbecue. We're just going to go up and down the roads of course, this is a big museum, and I like how it's shaded so I can see a lot better instead of having my eyes blinded. There we go. But we'll go ahead and march right through here and also see. Can we really walk through here? Looks like we can actually walk through the Zephyr siding. So this was built in 1948. The Western Pacific California Zephyr, that's Zephyr. The Bud Company, the California Zephyr, was a train that ran from Chicago, Illinois to Oakland, California between 1949 and 1970. It covered 2,525 miles of track each trip, 2.5 days to complete. The train traveled at an average speed of 45 miles an hour. That is slow compared to this time. We can go on up and head on up into the California Zephyr and take a look at what it was like in the early days early days, in 1940s, which is very cool. Look at the cars. I mean, this is like a relaxing seat. This is what cars look. Yeah, and this is what cars looked like back in 1940s. This is really cool. Look at this.
Why are you guys so loud?
And now this way. Of course, you got some of the like dining car, some of the lounge cars here. In here, of course. There we got steep drop. This reminds me of like what the. This looks like a restaurant car. This is what the restaurant looks like here. Would be like, of course, in the very back. You got the dome car, and this is the bar area on the side. Where is he? There we go. That's a slim margin. We can also go up top. That's the dome car. We'll go up there in a second. But this is a place where they can, like really, like not famous people, but people who could afford this car. It was very expensive back in the day. And so, but people that could afford this car would be able to have a seat. Have a seat, and they would watch TV, and they would have, have a cocktail, have a drink or two. Of course, there was a lot of people smoked on the train, unfortunately. And so people come back here, smoke, have a drink, talk to neighbors while they're traveling on this 2.5-day journey from Oakland to Chicago or Chicago to Oakland. Across the country on the California Zephyr. Let's go ahead and take a look at the dome car. There's a lot of people starting to come in now.
Watch out, Cooper. Cooper, stop.
Bet you haven't seen one of these TVs in a long time, especially with a VHS cassette player. Very long time since I had one of those. In a few years, but now we can go on up into the dome car. Now this is where I would actually love to sit, because you could actually get an aerial view, like up ahead. You can see an aerial view of the train itself, like right up here. You can see, and you can have a seat. This is where a lot of people would look out and want to check the scenery out, especially on beautiful days like today, and traveling the California Zephyr on the long route. So keep your eye out for. So, and this, there we go. And so they would, of course, look out the window. They would look out the window. They would see the, they would see the scenery as they travel. Of course, a lot of different scenery as you're traveling on this 2.5-day journey. And with it only going 45 miles an hour, that's slow compared to what speed of train is now. So we're gonna head on back down on the lower deck and go into other cars. You can actually go into other cars as you get into the other car down there. And we're gonna film inside what's inside that car. Let's go check it out. Alright, so operating Gulf Coast train operating near Fort Lauderdale, and that is very close to plane. You can see passing through these are just. But we can also Clewiston. I've been here. Clewiston is near the heart. It's located in the heart of Florida's sugarcane industry, largest producer of raw sugar in the United States. Sugar production provides economic stability. Many communities around Lake Okeechobee by employing many people and generating approximately $2 billion in economic activity. I've been to Caboose, and of course, you can always check out my Sugar Express video. I'll put a link in the description down below from from that trip, so you guys can watch that. It is a Sugar Express real steam engine, fully operational. Takes you a round trip. Takes about an hour and a half, but it's a very awesome experience. And they do different promotions and events throughout the year as well. So, but the Gold Coast Railroad. This is how it's the sugar mill and how it's grown. Six raw sugar mills with an average daily processing capacity of 20,750 tons of sugar cane per 24 hours, or a total of 500 tons. Five of these mills are owned by corporation. One is corrupt. I cannot spell. Corporation owned by growers. There are 2 sugar refineries adjacent to corporate mills. In addition, corporate and one cooperation own jointly for 4 refineries located outside Florida. So this is just some of the pictures of the mill, the sugar mill. Railway locomotive 113 steam engine was built in 1913 by the American Locomotive Company called Pacific Type Locomotive, used in regular revenue service over the entire Florida East Coast through line of Jacksonville to Havana, Cuba. Since its delivery to the FEC in 1913, the engine, right here, has never left the state of Florida. It pulled both passenger and freight trains. Late in the steam era, U.S. Sugar Corporation purchased the engine for use in their switching operations. Then locomotive 15, that's engine 113. This is engine 153. It's producing 1,500 horsepower with tractive effort of 29,000 pounds. This engine was in service on the Florida East Coast Railway from 1922 until 1938. And it pulled President Coolidge train to Miami. In 1928, was frequently used on the run between Miami and Key West before the Great Hurricane of 1935. It destroyed portions of the overseas railroad. And it pulled its last train out of Florida Keys in the wake of the devastating disaster. It took the first look train that assisted the rescue effort out of Marathon, Florida. As a result, it was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1980. Alright, so now we made it into the red caboose. Cabooses are not used anymore on trains in today's time because there's no need for them, because you have the conductor, the fireman, and the engineer all usually in the cab, and of course the maintenance crew who works around the trains, not on the train. So you have those, and so there's no need for cabooses anymore. However, they have displayed this caboose in a fire, and so here's what we're going to take a look at. Stovetop coal. This is real cold. It was real cold, but this is a coal stovetop burner that is run by coal. That is what they used to produce. That is what the conductor would sit back in the caboose in the back of the train while being pulled, and it would also shovel coal into the stove, which went through the pipe and out the steamer up there. This is where the conductor would sit. Conductor and the fireman as well. The engineer was driving the train. So he's at the front of the train. Also, I think it was the brakeman, not the fireman. The fireman was at the front of the engine, and the brakeman was in the caboose. So you have those. Of course, you could see out the back of the train. This was the back of the train. Of course, you have the emergency brake here, and then you have the there. Of course, there's the caboose. Of course, this Florida East steam locomotive number 113, built in 1913 by the American Locomotive Company. Wheel arrangement was a 4-6-2, which means they had 4 wheels on the front of the train, 6 wheels middle, and then 2 in the back. So they had I'll show you how it works. Dang, that was loud. Okay. So they had a 4-6-2, which means here are the 2 wheels. I'll point them. 2 wheels at the front. On each side of the train, you got the 3 wheels on this side, 3 wheels on the other side. So that's 6. 3 plus 3, 6. And 2, 1, 2 on the back. So it's a 4-6-2. So you can see inside there. I want to put that. That's the cab of the locomotive. It's a light Pacific. That's the type of the locomotive this is. It's also heavy on oil. Drive wheels are 68 inches in diameter. Tractive effort was 29,000 pounds. In service on the Florida East Coast Railway from Jacksonville to Key West. It pulled both passenger trains and freight trains. Sold to U.S. Sugar Corporation for use in their operations, and then donated to the museum by the corporation in 1969. Engine number 113, mighty steam. Alright, so we have entered the Jim Crow coach. The color. This is just an average coach car. All normal. Of course, here. And then you have the private. You have the private coaches here. Down here. So we learn about the coaches and some of the silverware and diningware that they had on board. Of course. Hand towel, you got the hand towel, you got the nice dining souvenir plate. How's that cup? Souvenir glass. And the quarters. Chicago industrialist George Pullum to exclusively hire African American men as porters for his luxury railroad sleeping cars. Come to know, highly trained and waiting on white passengers by performing the duties associated with the hotel bellhop, cook, maître d'hôtel, and personnel assistant. Golden porters became synonymous with superior service and hospitality, which is they worked, which is like they just were assistants on the train, and they were paid average $810 per year. Of course, this was in 1926, so they worked the Jim Crow era and suffered indignity associated with the period. Despite this, Pullman porters became an integral part of the African American middle class. They were conduct of information and culture, which helped usher in civil rights movement. Wow, so that's pretty cool. So now we can go back and see some of the there. This was part of Miami. Continuing rapid growth. Magic City. That's where I've been hearing all this clanging in here. Let's go ahead and take a look. That was the air horn. You got some of these famous rail saved life of R.W. Craig during the hurricane. Wow. Coconut Grove, 151.3 miles. Some of the old trains here. And these were some of the whistles that were on some of the steam trains that pulled from Miami to Key West and into Jacksonville. Look at this. And they have different tones. This is a single tone whistle. Single tone, adjustable single tone. You got a 6-tone whistle, which means each of these little ridges in here provides a different sound of the whistle. Of course, wow, these are really small. Small railroad spikes, and then we go into, these are the railroad spikes we use today. These are not standard clearance. And some of the oil cans used to put the oil into steam. And you got the bell, the engine bell. Are you allowed to ring it? Steam engine bell. Oh, you are. And this is some of the equipment on the engine, like the throttle. You got the throttle, you got the brake, you got the dynamic. What's called the dynamic brake goes to notches. That's the air brakes. And of course, the bell. And you can't ring that one, but you can ring that one in here. That train. All right, so now that we have made it through the rail cars, now I think it's time to purchase a ticket and head on to the train. Let's go. What we've come here for, not just the museum, but now we get to ride the attraction. Let's head on, get our ticket, and hop aboard. Okay, definitely unexpected. I did not think I was going to be able to make it on this one, but I am going to be riding in the cab of the locomotive, front seat, head on, front view of the tracks, where we'll be pulling passengers that will be behind me, the engineer, and the conductor. I'll be sitting right alongside of them all the way. So, and you're coming with me on this rail Spenventure. Let's go. All right, we're about ready to take off here. On a hot summer day in Miami. It is very hot. There's no AC in this locomotive.
Engineer 2 to conductor 2.
Conductor 2, go.
3-step.
Acknowledge master 2, release 3-step protection for Daniel.
3-step protection release for Daniel, ready up front.
See how the
Master 2, fireman side is clear, pull forward to the southbound switch.
release the air brake.
Fireman side is clear, pull forward to the southbound switch, number 2.
And there's the bell and the horn, and we are off. See how he switches to notch 1, and we are on notch 2, and there's the smoke coming out of the smoke shaft. This is awesome. Cool. And this is an old diesel engine.
Engineer 2 to conductor 2, head end is entering the slow order.
10 tracks forward, number 2.
That's the throttle. Down below us. Behind us is roundhouse.
If you wanted to go on a different car, you probably could have got right on to 1130.
Number 2, tail end is clear for slow order.
Tail end is clear of the slower to resuming track speed. Look at that. See that signal? See that signal? Oh, that's a form of ground radar. That's the Department of Defense. We don't really talk about them very much.
And these big concrete things, so that was from the original?
This whole property, remember, was originally known as Naval Air Station Richmond. So that was the original superstructure for the hangar.
Yeah.
Track 4 is the original hangar track that the Army Corps built.
And the hangar was wood?
Most of the hangar structure was wood, yeah.
So that was the frame.
Well, the main superstructure was concrete, and then most of the rest of it was wood.
So that's why they were still there, right? That would have been covered in.
They all got burnt down. Engineer number 2 calling, Trackman Robert.
Trackman Robert.
I don't see you. Are you in the clear?
I'm on the clear, but I'm not clear. I have hot rail right now on the South Pass track. Give me dead man's curve, so please give me a call when you hit the switch.
Are you clear of the main track 1 in the yard ladder?
I just said I am clear of all tracks in the yard, all the way out to CSX, but I'm not clear on the South Pad going into South Pass to Deadman's Curve.
Green board means we're going to go straight through the switch. Red board would mean diverging. We'd be going, the switch would be set against us.
Oh.
We're going to stop here. The conductor's going to step off on the fireman's side and throw the switch. Then we're going to go back on our second set of tracks.
Oh, okay. I thought it made just a big loop.
We don't have enough space to do a big circle.
Okay.
We actually wanted to try and do a big circle around the Zoo Miami property one time. When we surveyed it, though, the curves were too sharp for any of our equipment.
Oh. So I have to throw the... So what do you gotta do? So that must be... Now does that... Is that just the frequency of the radio, or is that the measured time of the
This here's my speedometer.
speedometer? Gotcha.
It's not entirely accurate because it's a new computer reading from old analog tech, so they don't quite agree.
Oh, gotcha.
So it'll say I'm going 12 mile an hour and I'm going 2.
Massachusetts fireman side is clear. South pad switch is aligned and lock points look good. Flip back to your mark on the south pad. Caution, noise abatement procedures are in effect.
Understood. Fireman side is clear. South pad switch is aligned and lock. The points look good. Shut back to the mark on the south pad, keeping a quiet zone. Oh wait, I understand. When he said noise abatement, I thought he was referring to the horn. No, he's referring to the track reduction noise.
Track foreman calling Chris.
The noise reduction fluid we have on the track.
Are you clear of all tracks?
Now you had a question. I'm
I
sorry.
don't know why NASA 2 is pulling onto my south pad track. Trackman foreman Robert calling conductor number 2. Conductor 2, go ahead. Can you do an all stop for me for momentarily so I can get my crew off the track? NASA 2, easy stop.
Understood. Easy. Stop.
Chris and Logan, when you get off the tracks, please, got a incoming train coming, and let me know when you're off the tracks and clear.
Am I Ooh, oncoming train?
No, there's crew on the track back there.
Ah, okay.
And so the conductor has asked me to come to an easy stop.
Gotcha.
Fuel cutoff. If something happens under the hood, that's the first place to go to shut the engine down. And then everything else is referred to ground faults and headlight controls and battery charging systems.
And how do you disengage that car?
There's a cut bar.
Muffler bar down there.
There's a cut bar that the conductor would pull to separate the cars. And then there's an air hose that goes between the cars for brakes.
Yes.
So if we kidnapped you, we could go 1,000 miles?
I mean, you wouldn't get very far because the first thing you'd hit is a big slab of steel on the track called the derail. That's to prevent exactly that from happening.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Not the first question I'd come to mind, but
What kind of questions you got, boss?
oh well, I'm more just like I'm a YouTuber.
Switching operation and freight.
Oh wow. Okay,
So all of that is available right now in our museum store.
gotcha. Okay, yeah, because I'm
I know the railroad, we're not allowed out there. But from this point to that track, we can go anywhere in the U.S. The United States has a backbone of steel that stretches all the way back to the early days of the country.
yes. Early days of railroading, back in the 1800s. Now we gotta flip it into reverse.
Driver's side is clear, come back to the south side. Switch number 2. Line and lock and the points look good. Driver's side is clear. Go back to the mark in the station. Number 2. Now what was that pattern? 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
3 shorts as I'm going back. My conductor has told me to go back, so I'm beginning my reverse movement.
Okay.
Now if I go 1, 2, what do you think that means?
Forward.
Do some deductive reasoning. If we got 3 for back, what do you think 2 means?
Neutral.
2 is for forward.
Forward.
So when you hear station, you always hear it in movies and shows. 1, 2, and then the train leaves.
Yeah, train leaves. Yeah.
So 2 is for forward. I've received forward orders, and I'm going to begin my forward movement. We got 3, we got 2, 1 short. What do you think that means? 1 in the yard.
One short.
Stop.
1 short is stop.
Good
I've
job,
reached the end of
yes.
my orders, and I'm not going to move again until I receive further orders.
See further notice. Yeah.
And what about an emergency?
Switches are aligned for track 1 and the points look good.
If there's an emergency,
A succession of short blasts on the horn. So that could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It can go on.
Yeah.
Just make noise. An emergency is just an in general noisemaker.
Yeah. Which I do not want to lose my hearing on that.
Well, trust me, you don't want to be on the front of this engine then.
Oh
The
no.
horns are right up there in the top, and all
Yeah.
5 trumpets face forward.
we live near a railroad track in Mighty Springs, and they have to sound the horns when they go across the trestle.
Yeah.
I don't know what sound, I've never counted.
That pattern should be 4 horns. It should be a long, long, short, followed by another long as they cross the trestle. That's a standard grade crossing horn. That could be at grade for a river, it could be at grade for a railroad crossing, for a car crossing.
I know the long is. I hear a lot of long at railroad crossings.
That's because a lot of engineers like to make sure to drive the point home. They're going to put that long all the way through when they go across it.
That's because of some.
Ticket. All that money goes straight into our fuel and restoration funds. We're all a bunch of volunteers. We do this just because we love the history, we love the equipment, and we love sharing what we love with you guys. So thank you again for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to come on board.
Well, that's the museum's mission, is to share it with everybody. So
I got it already. It's gonna be.
So you're a volunteer.
yeah, I'm a volunteer. I come all the way from Broward County just to come down here and volunteer.
You don't get paid.
I don't get a dime out of this place.
I guess if you like what you do, you don't work a day in your life.
That's the truth.
All right, so that was so much fun riding in engine number 2 with engineer Darius. Thanks to him and thanks to the Gulf Coast Railroad for allowing me and allowing a bunch of other passengers to ride aboard the locomotive as we made our trek down the track and back. So, always a good time. Of course, it was loud because the horns are right above where we were standing or sitting. And yeah, so overall, a great time here riding the train. Let's go back inside the museum and just take a look around and see what other things we can find here at the Gold Coast Railway Museum here in Miami.